Hi guys, I pretty much left you hanging for about a month. In all honesty, this last maybe 5 or 6 weeks has just been really hard. We've kind of been going through a lot of ups and downs. I really wanted to come and share a video with you guys about what that process has been like and what it's like homeschooling through that. I don't think that I'm in the clear, and I'll explain a little bit what I mean. I think that there's still some trials that we're gonna have to face, but a few things have really helped me kind of go through this because, we think of homeschooling and all the things that we're going to do and the curriculum that we're going to pick, the crafts that we're going to do, the plans that we make, and then life happens and it's like a shock to your system, especially if it's not an easy trial, right? I want to share a little bit about what's been happening over the last 6 weeks, kind of give you an update on what's going on in our homeschool, because it hasn't been easy and it's still not easy, but it's going to be okay. And my hope is this video is encouraging to you. Maybe you are also facing a down, are facing something really tough. It's making homeschooling very difficult. Or maybe you haven't yet and you see this video and think it means nothing to you now, but maybe you can come back to it later. If you're new here, my name is Jamie and this is Simply Learning Together, where I like to share everything about our homeschool. I'm a mom of 4 and my kids are 11, 9, 6, and 5. And I'm so glad you're here to follow along, and I hope that these videos can be helpful and encouraging to you. I want to mention my new background. It sounds silly, but I don't really have a lot of space in my house. We live in a small house. We don't have like an extra office space. And my green wall in my bedroom, I love it. But if you've seen my previous videos, the green is driving me nuts. The way that it comes off on the camera, and also trying to coordinate colors with green is really hard. So I thought this is the prettiest little corner in my room. This is my grandmother's piano. It's special to me, so I hope it can be a better scenery for you guys. So about 6 weeks ago, we had some really close friends of ours that experienced loss. And I don't want to go into details about it, but that just hurt really bad. It felt unfair. It felt sad. There is something almost debilitating about it, that the sadness just kind of distracts you from everything and you can't really figure out what to do. And you go through this roller coaster of emotions. Like 1 minute you're fine, and then the next minute you're thinking about your dear friends and you feel awful. And so it's just this constant motion. And I didn't even experience the loss directly. Like, this was my friends. And so I can't even imagine what it must feel like, if it directly affects you like that. If it's from your own family, that would be so tough. So there was definitely a couple of weeks where it was just this up and down roller coaster of emotions, navigating those feelings, not only for ourselves, but also for our children, and helping them understand the process of loss and what that's like. And so that was just really tough. After kind of getting out of that funk, then we experienced a really big high, a really big up. My husband shoots archery competitively, and he won a really big tournament here in our state, and it was so exciting. He got the championship. We were thrilled. We were jumping up and down. It was awesome. He was so excited. When it happened, then suddenly you're looking to the future. You're like, oh, maybe one day we can do this tournament. In this tournament, we can travel here. We can travel here. And, it was just so exciting because he's worked so hard. He's been doing this for a few years now. And it was just so great to see him do that. Less than 24 hours later, he called me into his office. He works here at home, and told me that he was laid off. So we went from here to here to here, really low, in a very short period of time. And I don't know if you've ever experienced like a layoff before. This was our first time. My husband, we live in Texas. He works for oil and gas, and I have heard that that is definitely part of the job, that it does have those ups and downs, but we've never experienced it. This was our first time, and it was a shock. And that just threw us for a loop. When you are a single income household and then suddenly the income is just wiped out, That was really, really hard. I just can't even describe the worry that you suddenly have as you try to figure out what the heck you're going to do, especially when you know, like if his company is struggling, they're all struggling and the jobs aren't going to be there. There was a few weeks where, I mean, it was just every single day just felt down. And it honestly was hard to do anything. I'm happy to say that it took about 4 weeks. He did find a job. I'm very grateful. He's very grateful. We feel very blessed. There are still going to be some things that we're going to have to figure out. He's switching fields and our budget is about to get chopped. So that is a new thing. You know, you think about one of the ways it affected our homeschool was the fact that, like, I could just go, oh, I really want to try this, and I could purchase it. Most of the time I could purchase something and try it and figure it out. Or if I'm like, this isn't working, we're going to try something else, I felt like I could mostly do it, even if I had to stay for a couple weeks and then do it. And now it's like, oh, that's not working for you? So sorry, you have to keep doing it because there is no extra cash. So it's just that, you know, you don't realize things like that when you're homeschooling comfortably. And so suddenly you really have to reorganize your thinking. Okay, if something's not working, what can we do with what we have? And so that's definitely been something that I've been circling through my brain as we go through this. That's kind of just a background of what's been going on. And now I want to focus kind of on the process of homeschooling through it all and what has helped me get through it. So I kind of mentioned this before, but when you're experiencing these deep feelings, I don't know about you, but something that I end up doing is just kind of like freezing. It almost feels like I just can't move forward. I don't want to move forward. I would rather be lazy. It's hard to do the jobs that you have to do. When we first found out about the job, that was me. I struggled to do anything with our homeschool and even my house. Even a step forward, like, oh, we're going to pick up the dishes. That is tough because you're just like overwhelmed with feelings. Thankfully, I came across a post on Instagram, of all places. Social media drives me crazy sometimes, but I promise you that I have been inspired by women who share all kinds of words of encouragement, and I was definitely encouraged by this woman. I can't think of her name, but her Instagram name is Arrows and Applesauce, and I think she's on YouTube as well. But she talked about how, you know, when you're experiencing grief and loss, it kind of just makes you not want to do anything, but you have to keep going. Your job is good. What you're doing is good. You need to pull your family and your children through it and keep moving forward, keep doing the thing. And I needed to hear that so bad because it had been like 3 or 4 days where I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't. And so that was kind of a boost for me, that I just have to keep going. When I got home we were on a little trip, like a little getaway. It was my son's birthday and we had already planned that. One of the first things I did was remove distractions. So I completely disconnected from social media. And I think that's like one of the first steps in dealing with emotions. Although it did help me in the beginning, I needed to let go of it all. I didn't want to see any other people. I didn't want to hear about anything else. There was a lot of stuff going on in the world at the same time as well. So emotions were just like high on social media, and I thought this is the perfect time to completely disconnect. So I did that. I removed myself from social media for the most part and really focused on my family. And I think that was really helpful. It allowed me to think clearly. It allowed me to spend more time in what's important and to prioritize my days better. And so that was definitely a helpful step in this process. One other thing that was helpful is we have really simplified our subjects in my homeschool, especially for my little ones. I do not have these curriculum workbooks that we're trying to work through. We do a lot of literature-based learning. During these difficult times, having those simplified subjects made it so easy to complete. Specifically, I'm thinking of like language arts we do through novels, and it was just like, just read the novel, Jamie. Just read the novel and talk about it with your kids. You're not losing time, you're not losing work, just read the novel. And so we did. And for my younger children, we do language arts through picture books, and it was like, just read the picture book. Read the picture book, do what you do. And it didn't feel like a task. It felt connection, it felt like quality, cozy time. Our family devotion, just keep reading the devotion. What's funny is the family devotion is really for the kids. I mean, it's for all of us, but we're really trying to like teach our kids about the Bible. But there was a couple of nights where my husband and I were like, are they speaking to us? So that was really helpful in doing that. Our science, we recently switched to science through picture books. And I remember one day coming home from somewhere and shutting the front door and being like, oh gosh, we still have to do science. And I literally said to myself, oh, I just have to read a book. I have to read a book, and that's it. And yes, there's options to do extra with that science curriculum, but it was okay to just say, I'm just gonna read the book. And you know what? When you sit down with your littles and you're reading this story and they're totally engaged in it, there was something comforting about it. Through this tough time, having all this great literature, I'm telling you, it really helped. So I was thankful that was kind of where our focus was. Now, on the alternative side, my older kids, they still had to do their work, and that was definitely hard. However, they've been in it long enough where they kind of have gained some responsibilities, so that made it easier to do that. Another thing that really helped me was community. And I specifically, I have multiple community sources. Our church community was so helpful. We have a little small group that was praying for us constantly. They were so generous, plugging into our church and being there. That was extremely helpful. We also have we call it Adventure Club. It's kind of a hiking group, and having those friends to be there for you and support you and pray for you was helpful as well. And then also this year we joined a co-op, and I have found it to be such a blessing in this process for a couple of reasons. Number one, there were so many women there that when they heard about our situation, they also had experienced it as well. And so being able to talk with them, how they went through it, what they did, how they saw God work through it, that was a comforting thing for me. It also held us accountable. The co-op that we're in, there's work that you have to turn in and that you have to complete. And I teach, so I have to be prepared. And so in these times where I'm feeling like I just can't do anything, it was more like, you have to do this. And so it kept us accountable during the difficult time. And I'm grateful for that, because I don't think that I would have. I really don't. I think I probably would have taken just a couple of weeks off and tried to deal with my emotions. It was not an easy thing to do, to try and keep up with work, but looking back, I'm glad that it forced us to do that. The other thing is it kept us grounded. I can just see my husband and I being like, let's leave, let's sell our house and let's just go. And it really didn't. It was like, this is where our family is. This is what we're doing. We need to pray about what's going to happen and trust that God is going to bring us through this, and just keep going. And because you start to think, I gotta move. I gotta sell my car. I gotta do all these things. And having just joined that co-op and knowing how good it was for our family, it really kept us put, saying, okay, how are we gonna make this work? We're going to stay here. We're going to keep going. My point in that for you is maybe you're not in a co-op, but having community is so important in homeschool. And I've just seen that through all of our years, just having that support system, having people that care about you and help you, pull you through it, relating to what you're going through. That was beyond anything I could have asked for. It was so helpful in the process. And then not only that, but then he got the job, and I had forgot all these people that I reached out to and they were still checking on me. Hey, how's it going? And I thought, oh yeah, it's great. It's good now. So it felt good to just have those relationships. Definitely community was a huge part of this. As you've heard, there was definitely a few days that I skipped out on things and really just felt like I couldn't do stuff. And my next helpful thing is the fact that I plan for our homeschool monthly. I set monthly goals. I had no idea that was going to help me in this situation until I saw it in action. So, a couple weeks have gone by and I'm feeling like we are so behind. I have skipped so many things. I am the worst. That's basically what's going through my head, right? Well, the month of September closed out and we started October, and I went to close out my week like I usually do. And I have these little monthly checklists that I use. It's going to be backwards when I show you, but I have videos on monthly checklists. I went to highlight what we accomplished, and I literally got to the bottom and we had missed maybe 2 lessons. 2. That's it. Just 2. And in my head, it was like 13. And it just proves to you how much you get in your mind about things. And it's why I did this in the first place. A few years ago, I ended the year wondering if I was doing enough, wondering, did I put in my best effort? Are my kids okay? And I was like, I cannot finish the year like that. I want to be confident in what we're doing. And that's why I made these. And in this situation, when we're going through these ups and downs, this was so helpful because I go to the end of the month, I'm already, preparing myself for failure. And I go to highlight everything that we completed. And there was 2 things that we didn't do, 2 lessons. And I thought, oh, well, that's not so bad. And then it was encouraging. It was motivating. Like, okay, we're not that far behind. And then just this year, I started doing this family subjects chart. And I think I have a video on this too. But, we were skipping morning time often. Once again, you're just feeling like I'm not doing anything. We're so behind. But then once I got my act together, I went to this chart and I just kind of caught up. What did we miss? What didn't we do? And then when I got to the end, we were 1 week before a fall break. So instead of planning out a whole other month, I said, you know what? I'm going to use this week and catch up on what we didn't do. And so I just had a catch-up week right before our fall break, and I did everything that was on here. And I look at this and I'm like, wow, we did a lot. We covered a lot of information. And so you might think that planning is annoying, which sometimes it is. It's time consuming. But in moments like this, having a plan is so helpful. I'm all about reverse planning, especially in hard seasons. But when you reverse plan, you can't see this as well. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like if you're reverse planning, keep doing it, okay? But just having like a vision of what's coming, even if it's just a page number or a goal, a simple goal, it's just so helpful to look back and say, I did it. I did that. And in a time when I'm feeling low, I'm feeling like a failure, I'm feeling like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing for my kids, for my home, for my homeschool, this was a pat on the back that I needed. So if you ever need encouragement to kind of have a monthly plan, let me tell you, I don't think I'll ever quit it because I needed it so bad in these moments. The last thing I want to share, which is probably the most important thing, is the shift I made in my relationship with the Lord. And it's not some major shift, life-changing thing, but I don't think what I was doing for my personal Bible study was doing anything for me. And what's funny is just a few days before we found out that my husband got laid off, I went to some friends and I was like, I really think I need to change it up. And now looking back on that, I'm like, that was God waking me up to be like, you better figure something out because you're about to go through it, okay? But yeah, so I kind of like talked about it with some friends, got some feedback. What do they do that's encouraging in their Bible time? Because I felt like what I was doing, it just wasn't fulfilling me. I was in the Bible every day, but it just wasn't doing it. Every day is an exaggeration, most days. I already was in this shift And I had listened to a podcast from Dr. Josh Axe, which I love him. I love listening to him. He put a podcast on spiritual health. And it was kind of out of my comfort zone, out of the box a little bit, but I loved listening to it. He talked about all these things to do with your spiritual health, and how crazy that I listened to it just 2 days before all of this happened. And he said a couple of things that were so helpful to me in the process. You know, he talked about being in the Word, which I was already kind of thinking about that, but he also talked about prayer and meditating on the Word, the Bible. And he talked about, like, when you're reading the Bible, say you're reading the Psalms and you're praying through the Psalms. So instead of just reading it, you know, if the Psalm says, thy word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path, then you literally pray it. Lord, you are a lamp to my feet. You light up my path. You show me where to go. And I was doing that every day. Whatever plan I had after talking to my friends, I changed it. And something told me, go to the Psalms. And I started with Psalm 1. And I would read 5 or 6 Psalms in the day. And anytime there was something in there that I could pray through, I was doing it. I was stopping the reading and I was praying directly to God about what that was. And that's kind of the first time I've really done that. And I feel like that really helped lift my spirits. The other thing that I heard on the podcast, which was kind of odd, but it helped me, he talked about prayer and how to pray. And he shared something maybe his grandfather had taught him. It was basically like, when your relationship with God, when you're praying with God, you should feel like he's right there. Like if you're kneeling at your bed, you should feel like your head is in his lap. And I thought, that's kind of odd. But I'm telling you, visualizing God right there listening to me was super helpful. And I feel odd saying that, but it did. Like I needed to feel his presence. I needed to do it because it was hard. It was so hard to do the daily things. And so feeling God there with me lifted me up so much and really pushed me through. Maybe you think I'm a cuckoo lady now. I share that to maybe if you need some encouragement with your prayer life or whatever, through whatever you're going through, maybe that can be helpful to you as well. I want to share this devotion, or it was like a blog post that a friend shared with me, and it was actually at the end of it, and I thought to myself, wow, this really would have been helpful a couple weeks ago, but it was still just so meaningful. A friend of mine shared a blog post from the Bible Study Fellowship, BSF, I think, if you've ever heard that. And it talked about how God puts us through these trials, and he kind of does it in a way to show us our sin and help us through it and to bring us closer to him, right? Because that's what he wants. He wants us close to him. I'm literally visualizing my head in his lap, okay? So yes, I got closer. We go through these trials, and she brings up the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which you can find in Daniel, and how they were thrown in the fiery furnace. And when they were there was suddenly this fourth figure, right? And if you know the story, they came out of the fire. They were not burned. And in the Bible, it mentions that they were walking through the fire. And the person that wrote this used that as a visual. I want to read this to you because I just think that this is exactly how I felt. So if you don't mind while I read this, if you're going through a difficult time, I hope this can encourage you. It says, too often we believe that an awful affliction must stop us dead in our tracks. That's exactly what I was feeling. I couldn't do anything. It says it derails us. It brings everything to a halt and impedes us from going further. Too often we try to stand still, waiting until the trial passes so we can get back to life as normal. I can't tell you how many times I keep saying back to normal, but I don't really understand what normal is yet because we're not through it. Like I said, yes, he has a new job. It's a completely different field. It's completely different people. We have a completely different budget, and there's going to be more hardship. And so I still think this applies. It says that's not the way it goes for the Christian. A trial does not bring everything to a standstill until we can wrench free of it and be on our way. A trial is one of the streets through which we move. A trial is a pathway on which we walk closer to the finish line. A trial is a road that leads us deeper into the heart of Christ. It's not something to escape. It's not a puzzle to quickly solve so we can get back on track. Hello, homeschooling mothers constantly trying to solve things. It's not a detour. It's the main road, the main thing. It's the main path. We don't stand still in the midst of a fiery trial. We are called to walk through it. And that is exactly my hope in sharing this with you. If you're going through something hard in your homeschool, I pray that this video can encourage you to keep going, to keep doing the good thing. What you're doing for your children, for your family is so important. It's so meaningful. Keep taking that step forward. Set goals for the day, even if it's just 3 small things, and work to get those done, knowing that what you're doing is good. Think about all the things that I've shared with you, and if any of that sounds helpful to you, I hope that that can help you get through whatever it is. Maybe I should have shared it first, but just really changing my relationship with the Lord, and also with my kids, teaching them our reliance on Him and showing them we don't have to worry. God will be faithful. He will get us through it. And even though in the thick of it, I was like, I don't know, this is really scary. But basically just saying it, speaking it, and encouraging them that it will happen. And so, you know, of course, it's easier for me to come on here looking back on it, and I feel very blessed. I know there are people that are in this situation for a much longer period of time. I feel like things are looking up, and I hope that they are. It's just been a really weird year. It's been a really weird year. We definitely go through that as we homeschool, and life keeps going, and homeschooling keeps going. So yeah, just a little bit of an update on what's been going on here. I do want to be back more regular. So if you have been around a while and there's a certain content that you like, will you let me know in the comments what you want to hear more of? I have some ideas that I want to share as well. So I've missed being on here, and I am glad to be back.